both using the same mic. They're both using the same camera, same internet, same everything. And it works on Discord and doesn't work on YouTube, which I was trying to tell the YouTube people, that means it's a YouTube problem. That means it's not a Discord problem. It's a YouTube problem if it works on Discord, or it's not my internet. Anyway, all right. The YouTubers are coming back. Gunther and Jason at least figured it out. Hopefully the rest of you guys come. So Harvard. So basically Harvard told Trump to go screw himself. The YouTubers will come back in a second. I'll just keep talking. And Trump got very upset, of course, because Harvard is not bending on its knees for Lord, dear leader, North Korean, communist. So Trump is now trying to threaten Harvard with, I would say YouTube. He's trying to threaten Harvard with billions of dollars now. Listen to this from the Wall Street Journal. Trump threatened to revoke Harvard's tax-exempt status. So now they're going after the tax-exempt status, which means the university will have to pay massive taxes. They're currently exempt as an educational institution, but they would have to pay massive taxes on everything they get, gifts, everything else. And Trump wants to take away their tax-exempt status, which again, totally illegal, totally communist, totally dictator-like. And he's doing it. He's trying to do it. It's not great because here's why it's not great. And by the way, anybody who says great, kick him out, Ash, because I'm not going to tolerate people like that today. It's really not great because if you want to live in a system where the next Democrat who comes to power cuts off all of your aid, refuses to give your state money when you have hurricanes in Texas and hurricanes in Florida because you're Republican states, and the Democrat just says you're not going to get money because you're Republicans, you want that to happen? You want all that aid? You want all the poverty money that Republicans take? By the way, most of America's poverty money goes to Republicans. Republican states are the states that take the most from the federal government for all the programs. Not just poverty, programs in general. Federal programs, it's Republican states that take the most money. Democratic states are the states who actually give the most money in taxes to the federal governments. They tend to be the richer states. The poorer states that take more than they give, the takers, are the Republican states. So you want a Democratic president to come in and say, you know what? Let's just not give money to the Republican states, like Trump says about California. You don't want a president who can do that. You don't want a president who makes decisions on federal money and support and the rule of law, by the way, based on the fact of whether your state votes Democratic or Republican, right? You should get help in a hurricane. You should get help if a tornado destroys your state. Whether or not you voted Republican or Democrat, I don't care. This is America. We should support you no matter what. So the folks, and that's why I'm saying mods, feel free to buck them, boot them, because they're not real people. Thank you, Marsha. They're trolls. People who say, yeah, good, let's cut off Democrats, that's not American. That is un-American. It's illegal, but it's also un-American. We do not, that is literally what the Russians do. That's literally what the communists did. It's literally what the communists do. It's what the Chinese government does, right? They literally go and they take the strong arm of government and oppress their people for political purity, to agree with the state. Anybody who says they're for that is, yeah. In any case, so here's what Trump is doing. So Trump threatened to revoke Harvard's tax-exempt status, escalating a feud over anti-Semitism concerns and academic freedom at the nation's wealthiest university. Trump wrote on social media Tuesday that Harvard's decision to resist his administration's demands to change its governance structure could result in a loss of tax exemptions. Hold on. Let's get our one moment, get my wig. Where's my hair? Where's my Trump hair? Where's my Trump hair? There we go. Perhaps Harvard should lose its tax-exempt status and be taxed as a political entity if it keeps pushing political, ideological, and terrorist-inspired supporting sickness. I don't know what that means. Remember, tax-exempt status is totally contingent on acting in the public interest. He says the federal government Monday said it would freeze. Oh, Wall Street Journal. The federal government Monday said it would freeze $2 billion of Harvard's multi-year grants and contracts. It had already threatened to withhold nearly $9 billion in grants and contracts from the school and its affiliated hospital. This is about, Trump's right about one thing. This is about terrorism. He's right about that. Again, this is what fascist governments do. This is what communist governments do. This is what the Russians do, the Soviets do, the Eastern Europeans did, the East Germans, the communist Chinese, what they still do. This is what North Korea does. This is not what America does. It's pretty sick. It's very sick. And honestly, had the man gone to jail, had he gone to prison, we wouldn't have to deal with any of this. But we don't enforce the law against rich people in this country, sadly. New York Times, a federal judge rebuked the Trump administration for doing nothing to arrange the return of a Maryland man who was wrongly flown to a prison in El Salvador last month. And in a hearing on Tuesday, set in motion a process to determine if the Trump administration officials had defied court orders requiring the government to bring the man, Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, back to the U.S. So this story is this man in Maryland. I'll give you sort of the background here. This man in Maryland, who the Trump people say he's a gang member. Court disagrees. Actually, this is a confusing issue. I'm going to step back a second. The Trump administration violated a court order and deported a man out of the country in violation of a standing court order that has been around for 6 years. They've broke the law. They knowingly broke the law. Thank you, Catherine. That is the most important point. It doesn't matter who this guy is, right? In America, we don't break the law because you think you're doing the right thing. That is not what you do in this country. As a citizen, you don't get to break the law. As a president, you really don't get to break the law. They broke the law. Then when the Supreme Court stepped in last week and said, you're not allowed to break the law, get him back, you need to facilitate getting this guy back, the Trump administration said no to the Supreme Court. They are now violating the court order from 2019, and they're violating the Supreme Court order from last week. I will say it again. That is not democracy. That is not what we do in America. We don't defy court orders. We don't cheer on presidents who break the law. That is not a good thing because, as I said before, if you want presidents who break the law against Democrats, then a Democrat's going to come in and he's going to break the law against Republicans. And you're going to be next. The whole point of supporting the rule of law is for selfish reasons. You should have selfish reasons for why you want presidents to obey the law, because you don't want them to come after you next. That's why you obey the law. That's why you want political leaders. That's why you want the police to obey the law, because you don't want the police to come after you next. This is pretty bad. So the federal judge today heard from the Trump people and said, bull. The Trump people literally tried to claim that they actually followed the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said they should facilitate getting this guy back who they illegally deported. And the Trump people said, well, Trump did that yesterday with the leader of El Salvador in the Oval Office. And the judge goes, did what? He facilitated the guy's return. The judge goes, no, he didn't. He didn't do anything in the Oval. What are you talking about? They're literally trying to say Trump sitting down for a press conference with the dictator of El Salvador was somehow proof that he was facilitating the release of this guy. It's the other problem for El Salvador, I will say, is El Salvador is now run by a dictator, basically. It's a typical Latino, authoritarian, Latin American junta. He's not military, but he might as well be military as far as sort of a sad history of governments in Latin America. By the way, we supported a lot of them, so I'm not going to let the U.S. off on that one. But a history of military governments that were very bad, dictator-type governments. I mean, the Nicaraguans have one now, although that's on the left, the Sandinistas. They're dictators, basically. And this guy's another wannabe dictator, Bukele, who's the dictator of El Salvador. And Trump is sucking up to him. Bukele is helping Trump break the law. And that might work very well for Bukele for the next 3.5 years. But in 3.5 years, he's going to have to deal, hopefully, with a Democratic president who's going to sit there and say, and by the way, Democratic voters who are going to say, El Salvador is run by a dictatorship. We need to stop helping El Salvador, frankly. Little more here. The Trump administration is now actively looking into deporting American citizens to El Salvador. El Salvador, the reason Trump wants to deport people there is because El Salvador, because again, run by a dictator, they have prisons that are basically torture centers. And they're known to be torture centers in their prisons. That's why Trump wants to deport people there. He's trying to be like extra firm or something. Well, Trump was caught telling the El Salvadoran dictator, and then the White House has said openly, Thank you, Marsha, for the gift. Keep the gifts coming, guys. The White House has now said openly, and Trump said privately, but it was caught on microphone, that Trump wants to send American citizens to El Salvador, like American citizens who are arrested. Well, actually, let me put it this way, who are arrested. Who knows why you're arrested? As we've already found, Trump arrests people on false charges and send them to torture camps in El Salvador. I mean, seriously? Like, again, thank you for the wings, Cinderella. Appreciate it. This is some pretty sick stuff. Listen to this. Trump administration is looking into the legality of deporting American citizens to El Salvador if they commit violent crimes. I think this is the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times still. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said, it's a legal question. Actually, here, we'll put her the other way. This is Caroline here. It's a legal question the president is looking into. He would only consider this if legal for Americans who are the most violent, egregious, repeat offenders of crimes who nobody in this room wants living in their communities. Yesterday, Trump said he was all for deporting naturalized American citizens to El Salvador if they're criminals. Associated Press. Oh, yeah. And so another crime Trump is committing. The courts ordered Trump last week to let the Associated Press return to the White House, let them return to the press pool. Trump has banned the Associated Press from covering the White House because the Associated Press refuses to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, which Trump is insisting. So Trump has banned them from the White House. That's illegal. In America, the president isn't allowed to do that because we have freedom of speech, and freedom of speech specifically goes towards government action. And the president cannot ban newspapers, specific newspapers, based on their speech, especially from going to the White House. And he's banned the Associated Press. Well, he gets, oops, who was that from? Oh, is that the spring picnic, Hedge? I thought I saw, was that the spring picnic? I saw like a little green tea too. I couldn't tell if that was from somebody else. Thank you for the gift there, though. The courts weighed in and said, yeah, Trump is not allowed to ban the Associated Press from the White House. So the court weighs in, and what happens? Trump is still banning them. They showed up at like one event. He's still banning them from the press pool. He's still violating the court order. He is violating another court order. Guys, he's breaking the law. Now, we shouldn't be surprised that a convicted felon who has 34 convicted felonies is breaking the law, but this is still very troublesome stuff. This is incredibly dangerous stuff. Again, it's not American. It's un-American. We do not want our president to be a criminal. We do not want our president to be a crook. We do not want our president to act like the communist Chinese. And that's what he's acting like. He's breaking the laws. He's ignoring courts. And next he's going to come after you, because that's what happens when you anoint leaders, that you're okay with them breaking the law. And especially when you're okay with them breaking the law when it comes to civil rights and human rights and sicking the government on you, right? Traditionally, Americans have not been really thrilled about politicians using the government to attack American citizens they don't agree with. We all agreed that was something the Russians did. We all agreed that was something the communist Chinese did, and we didn't like it. And now suddenly one political party is acting like it's okay to act like the communist Chinese. When did that happen? I don't quite get it. I really don't quite get it. It's just incredibly sick. It's incredibly sick. Next here. This was interesting. So one of the things Trump, and by the way, somebody just said, yes, he is. One of the things Trump is doing that is also authoritarian and dictatorial and communist Chinese is he is going after lawyers and law firms who have worked with Democrats or thank you, Annie, for the Day of the Dead gift. Thank you, Carrie-Ann. Trump is banning law firms from doing business with the government. For example, if they worked at all on the January 6th insurrection investigation. We had a group of domestic terrorists who tried to overthrow our government at the request of Donald Trump on January 6, 2021. Trump pardoned all the terrorists. He set them free. 1,500 terrorists were set free by Donald Trump. They literally tried to violently overthrow our government. Okay? Mods, I'm helping you out here. This is going to get rid of the rest of the trolls. Thank you, Flower. I always love to bring them out so the mods can then go and get rid of everybody, right? Trump decided he was going to punish any American law firm who helped imprison the domestic terrorists who attacked our Capitol, who violently attacked our Capitol and tried to violently overthrow our government. One of the women he went after, Sussman Godfrey. Listen to this. Actually, Sussman Godfrey is a law firm, not a woman. Listen to this. From The Guardian. A federal judge ruled today that Trump could not bar the federal government from working with Sussman Godfrey, the law firm. Listen to this, who he's going after. Okay? Listen to this. The law firm that won a $787 billion settlement from Fox News for a voting machine maker over lies aired about the 2020 election. Let me explain this. There was a huge lawsuit against Fox News and others for lying about the presidential election. Not just claiming that Trump won, which he didn't in 2020, but claiming that a voting machine company, what was it? What was the name of the company? I'm forgetting the name, if somebody remembers. It wasn't Vote-Matic, it was the other company. What's the name? That a voting machine company's Dominion, thank you. Was it Dominion? Okay, thank you. Yep, Emily and Jason and Keps and others. Thank you guys, Dominion. Claiming that Dominion voting machines either were broken into or Dominion itself was part of the scandal or something, but they claimed Dominion voting machines are corrupt and they're being used to steal the election and that you can't trust Dominion. So Dominion sued because Fox News knew what it was doing. Fox News was lying. Fox News is the big Republican news network here, one of them. Fox News knew they were lying. And Dominion was able to get text messages and emails from the Fox News hosts admitting they were lying. The Fox News hosts literally admitted that they had no proof, and they went on the air and accused Dominion's voting machines of being corrupt, and Dominion of being corrupt and throwing the election when they knew it was a lie. Well, the case was so bad for Fox News had to settle out of court. Okay, this wasn't a court judgment. This was Fox News settling. They settled for $787. This says $1 billion. It wasn't $1 billion. This is $1 million. It says billion, but that's not right. $787 million was the settlement. I mean, imagine how bad it had to be if the settlement was $787 million. Okay, well, Trump is trying to ban the law firm that helped prosecute that case. They're trying to ban the law firm from doing work with the federal government. That's why I'm saying this is what communist governments do. This is what communist dictators do. It's not what Americans do. Thank you, Flower Power. And the judge was not happy. So let's see what happens. But they ordered the government to stop doing it. Now Trump's going to probably ignore the judge, and that's what's going to be, that's what we're going to see next. By the way, I mean, we'll get into it later. Robert F. Kennedy. You remember Robert F. Kennedy? He's Trump's head of healthcare in America who doesn't believe in vaccines. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is facing, this is from The Guardian, new demands to release, listen to this, Kennedy and the Doge boys, are Elon Musk's boys, are holding up $400 million in money that goes to help low-income Americans keep the air conditioning on in their homes. Low-income Americans, poor Americans, low-income, poor, let's call them poor. Poor Americans get subsidies from the U.S. government to help them pay their electric bill in the summer so they can actually have air conditioning. Otherwise, they die. We got parts of the country that get super hot in the summer. Washington, D.C. is one of them, but further south, even worse. Robert F. Kennedy and the Doge boys are sitting on $400 million that currently they're refusing to release to people who are going to be in these parts of the country that need help. There's a winter program too. This is the summer program. The winter is LIHEAP. This is the summer program right now. Anyway, but again, like this is what they're doing, guys. Somebody earlier, one of the trolls said, they're not coming after people like me. Oh, they literally are coming after people like you. They're literally now cutting aid to people who need air conditioning in the summer. And by the way, that's the question too. Carol said it will be mostly red states. That's the irony here. The states that are going to get hit the hardest with this are going to be Republican states in the South, sort of the South across the board, and maybe like, especially Texas going east, it's going to be Republican states. The Trump administration has exempted, listen to this. The Trump administration has exempted 47 companies from regulations to curb mercury and air toxins for coal-fired plants for 2 years. So coal-fired plants had to be really careful not to release mercury and other toxins in the air. Well, they're exempt now. They can release mercury and other toxins in the air for 2 years because, what's a little mercury poisoning between friends? Just lovely. So what else we got here? We got a lot more news here, actually. Where is this? All right. we can, you know what? Let me continue with the Ukraine news. Let's continue the Ukraine news, and then we can, or we can either way. Let's not take a break. Let's take a break, hang a second, and talk about the news we just discussed, and then I'll continue with the Ukraine news. We got a good amount of Ukraine news as well. So, a quick sip of water to take a break. Anything on any of these topics? Anybody's opinion? Anything? Otherwise, I will switch over. Congress won't do anything. The Republicans control Congress, so they're not going to do anything. Google, I don't know anything about Google Earth photos. I haven't seen anything about that. Sorry. Shred. Will red states impeach when it gets hot? That's the interesting question. I mean, will Republican voters ever say, you know what? I didn't vote for more inflation. I didn't vote for a recession. I didn't vote for my retirement savings to get cut in half, right? I don't know. David, I'm not a big fan of people who post bill names or bill numbers and thinks people know what they are. Why would I know a bill number, right? I mean, I saw you post that before, but why would I possibly know the number of a bill in Congress? I mean, I don't work there anymore. So I'm just saying you're not going to get an answer posting a bill number. I probably don't know what it is anyway, but well, that's the question, whether voters did vote for it. That's the interesting thing. Actually, it's a very good point, because somebody just wrote Flower Power said they did vote for it. It is naive of voters to claim they didn't know what they were getting with Trump, right? Oh, we didn't know he was going to be erratic. I've seen people on Twitter, some of the new anti-Trump people who were very pro-Trump, saying, I didn't think he was going to be this erratic. And you're like, really? The one guy said, not only erratic, he said, I thought he was going to defend America's interests abroad. I thought he was going to stand up to America's enemies. And I was like, you thought Trump was going to stand up to America's enemies? Seriously? Like, in what possible universe did you think he was going to do that? Like what? I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Any case. Oh, we got somebody to report. There you go. And more Palestinian people trying to join my live. Yeah, that's not happening. Oh, that's okay. We're all going to report you, nasty little. I always love these people. You're very swell. I'm going to report this one. Everybody feel free to report that guy. Let's get him banned from TikTok. All right. Although TikTok, I will say, they do ban this kind of stuff. They absolutely ban that kind of stuff. I've reported them before. Charles, you're going to get your account banned. Everybody report Charles DeWalt. I'm not going to get rid of it yet. Scroll up a second. Everybody go pick his tweet, pick his comment, and report him for hate speech. I'm going to get rid of him in a second, but scroll up and do it really quick on TikTok. All right. I'm going to click block in a second, so he's going to disappear. All right. There we go. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. All right. So what else we got going? All right. Let's talk about Ukraine. War in Ukraine. Thank you, guys. At least it is Ukraine. It is day 1,144 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation in Ukraine. At least 35 people were killed. So the latest update, the Russians attacked a civilian target on Palm Sunday 2 days ago. They used cluster munitions, which are basically little bombs. They're little bomblets that drop out of, like, a big bomb goes over, opens up, and then lots of little bombs, like 80 or 100 little bombs per big bomb, go flying everywhere. And they dropped these. You only use it when you're trying to kill people on the ground, lots of people on the ground. They dropped it in a civilian area of the city. And basically, let's see if that, there we go, closes a little. I was getting a little sunlight peeking out at TikTok here. They dropped it in Ukraine in a civilian area, killed 35 people, killed 35 civilians, injured 119 people. Children were among the dead and wounded. International outcry against the Russians doing this. The Russians clearly were trying to kill civilians. Guess who refused to condemn it? Donald Trump. What a surprise. And it gets worse. In response to the attack, President Zelensky said, we need more Patriot missiles. The Patriot missiles are an American defensive missile that is used for shooting down incoming missiles. So you don't use it against, it's not offensive. It's used against incoming missiles that are coming in to kill civilians. Zelensky says, please, Mr. Trump, we're not asking for more weapons to kill the Russians. We're asking for more weapons to shoot down these Russian missiles that are trying to blow up our citizens. And Zelensky says, we will pay you. We will pay you $15 billion, which is the price you charge other countries for this system. We will pay you. Trump turned around and said, no. He said, no, I'm not going to give you the missiles. He blamed Zelensky for the war. This was part of Trump blaming Zelensky. He blamed Zelensky for the war. And then he complained that Zelensky is always looking to purchase missiles. Yeah. Yes, the Ukrainians are always looking to purchase defensive missiles to stop Russian missiles from coming in and killing children. Yes. When Russian missiles target civilian hospitals, civilian schools, civilian nurseries, as they did at the beginning of the war, and blow up hospitals, yes, the Ukrainians are constantly looking for missiles to stop the Russians from killing babies. Yes, they are. Tell me why that's wrong, right? The only reason it's wrong is if you're Vladimir Putin. If you think Putin should be able to kill Ukrainian babies, then right? I mean, I guess that makes sense. Why would Donald Trump say he doesn't want to give Ukraine defensive weapons to stop the Russians from killing Ukrainian babies? Well, you can do your own guessing as to why Donald Trump is once again parroting the Russians. What else we got? The U.S. is told, speaking of which, the U.S. has told allies it will not endorse a statement condemning Russia's attack. The G7, top sort of economic countries, Europe and Canada, were getting together and they were going to issue a statement condemning Russia's attack on civilians. Trump refused to sign. Surprise. Ukraine's military has reportedly struck a base of the Russian missile brigade responsible for the attack, so they got even, which is good. Wall Street Journal had an article. Listen to this. I'm just going to quote this from the Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal. Several senior aides to Donald Trump are advising him to be more skeptical of Moscow's desire for peace with Ukraine. I mean, I'm laughing about this. I just think this is hilarious. Again, it's his aides are advising Trump to be tougher against Ukraine. Okay, I mean, against Russia. Okay, several aides to Donald Trump, senior aides, are advising him to be more skeptical of Moscow's desire for peace with Ukraine, arguing that Russian President Putin has yet to show genuine interest in halting the fighting. The group, which U.S. officials said includes Secretary of State Rubio and Ukraine envoy General Kellogg, has recommended more caution when dealing with Putin and for a harder line against Moscow's demands for territorial concessions from Kyiv. Trump, however, is still siding with U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff, who thinks Putin wants to make peace after meeting him in Moscow twice, and who has recommended, this is my added, who has recommended that Russia just be given all the land in Ukraine that it wants. All 5 territories they've stolen, just let them keep it, and that'll ensure peace. Now, again, what I like about but what's funny about the article is, I mean, really, 2 of Trump's top aides tried to convince him Putin's a bad guy. Putin's not interested in peace. He should hang tough against Putin. But Trump is siding with the guy who says we should give Putin everything he wants. And Putin's really sincere. He wants peace. We should give him everything. Big freaking surprise that Trump is siding with that guy, right? This is not a surprise. Little more here. NATO Secretary General Rutte, who was the Prime Minister of Holland. What the hell? I would say Dutch. You guys have too many names for that damn country. Netherlands. Jesus. It's like the Netherlands. It's Holland. It's the Dutch. You've got too many names for that place. I grew up calling it Holland. It's very confusing. The Secretary Rutte stressed there's no doubt Moscow started the conflict. He was pushing back against Trump's comments that Ukraine was to blame. Zelensky says talks with the U.S. today on the minerals deal. Remember how Trump is trying to shake down Ukraine to get half of its minerals, half of its oil, half of its natural gas? Zelensky says the talks today were positive, but the Ukrainians are still pushing for some kind of security guarantee that the Americans are refusing to give. A little more here. 4 journalists in Russia were convicted of extremism and sentenced to over 5.5 years in prison for simply working with Alexei Navalny's anti-corruption group. Alexei Navalny is the opposition leader who Putin had killed, and they literally are throwing journalists in prison for 5 years simply for working with an opposition group. That's it. Sound familiar? Yeah. I don't even care about him. Actually, I do care about him. Let's talk briefly about this. This is an interesting story. Robert Fico is the wannabe dictator of Slovakia. He's the prime minister. Again, I think he would like to be an Eastern European dictator of the Soviet model. I think he probably looks up to them, like Orban in Hungary. He is going to the May 9th celebrations in Moscow, which are the big war celebrations the Russians do every year, where they pretend they saved the world from the Germans in World War II. And they never mention that they were actually allies of the Germans and helped start World War II by signing a secret pact with the Germans called the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, in which they decided they were going to split Europe in half and they were going to each take like half of it, including Poland. And basically they give permission to the Germans to start World War II. It's very bad. I mean, you can Google it. It's part of history. Google it. It's not good. Well, the Russians like to pretend that, they were never allies with the Germans. They helped no, they didn't help. They saved the world from the Germans. They didn't. We saved the Russians from the Germans. In fact, the Russians played a role after they helped the Germans start World War II. But the Russians did fight the Germans. The only reason the Russians didn't lose to the Germans is because the Brits and us and maybe some others, I don't know, did other allies help with Lend-Lease as well? The Brits and the Americans especially basically saved the Russians behinds. And the final point the Russians don't point out is after World War II, right, when the Russians say they saved Europe, there's a little asterisk next to the word saved. The Russians never really mention when they have their May 9th parade about how they saved Europe from the Germans. The Russians never mention that after they saved Europe from the Germans, they invaded, took half of Europe hostage, put brutal communist dictators in charge, invaded with their troops and tanks and killed people, and then held them hostage for 45 years. The European people that they liberated. They never talk about that. We know why they don't talk about that. Kind of an embarrassing part of the Russians' history when they occupied half of Europe and slaughtered people left and right and imposed brutal communist dictatorships on half of Europe for 45 years. I say this because the wannabe dictator of Slovakia, Robert Fico, who's a big Putin puppet, is going to the celebration on May 9th in Moscow. And he had this to say: I will go to Moscow to pay my respects to the thousands of Red Army soldiers who died liberating the Slovak Republic. Why that is so disgusting and dishonest is those Soviet soldiers liberated the Slovak Republic, which was Czechoslovakia at the time, from the Germans, and then immediately oppressed the country and occupied it for 45 years and installed, as I said, a brutal communist dictatorship in Czechoslovakia. And when there was an uprising in Czechoslovakia in 1968 of students and others who wanted more freedom, the Russians came in with their tanks and they killed everybody. They rode over everybody, like Tiananmen style, literally Google the photos, and they slaughtered everybody, all the innocent civilians. So for Fico to be a Slovakian president claiming, the Soviets liberated my country, when he knows damn well what happened was the Soviets came in, kicked out the Germans, and then did exactly what the Germans were doing. They turned Czechoslovakia, into a horrific communist dictatorship, and they slaughtered Slovakians left and right. And the same thing did happen in Budapest, Hungary, exactly SMOP, in 1956. So I wanted to mention the story because it's so freaking disgusting to see a Slovakian prime minister talk about how the great Russians saved my country after World War II when they literally murdered that country and slaughtered that country for 45 years. But this tells you all you need to know. I mean, my knowledge of history isn't that good. No, sorry. Fatal Guerra is saying my knowledge of European history is good. This stuff is, some Americans may not be familiar with this, but this isn't even complicated European history. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is stuff everybody knows. Well, okay, not everybody knows. Fair enough. If you don't know European history, but meaning, I sort of say it only to mean this is actually pretty simple stuff. This is pretty famous stuff, right? You can Google this and get all the answers on it. It's not like this is complicated stuff that, nobody knew. Everybody knows this. This guy knows this, the Slovakian prime minister. He knows damn well what I'm talking about. It's not complicated. I didn't mean to knock your comment. What I meant was, it's not like it's rocket science what I'm saying here. This prime minister knows this. It's basic, exactly. It's basic. Well, it's basic stuff that you learn in the 9th grade, but then you forget, of course. Americans, we're not as good at our world history. I wasn't as good at my world history, really. But it's pretty sick of the Slovakian minister, prime minister, to talk about, oh, the Soviets saved my country. Yeah, until they literally oppressed you for 45 years and then invaded with tanks and literally killed your citizens. Google it, 1968 Prague Spring. The Prague Spring is what it was called, when the Soviets and the Russians came in and killed everybody. Really horrible stuff. Finally, you know what? That's good enough for now. We've gone long. Actually, that was long today. We've gone enough here. We've gone enough. Your dad's obsessed with World War II history? That's funny. I'm intrigued with World War II history. I'm not obsessed with it. I do find, I think it's funny. As I get older, I get more into it. I'm going to adjust my camera as I talk to you guys. There we go. You guys. I keep talking like that Austrian. Peter. Guys. Actually, I haven't seen Peter. I think TikTok may be like diminishing his videos or something. I don't see as much of Peter lately. A little more water in my Ukraine mug. Anyway, all right. Let's hang and chat. Hang and chat. Thank you, Abigail. Appreciate it. Your son is 20 and loves World War II history. I mean, it is fascinating stuff. Actually, I gave it to one of the nephews because I just was like, I have enough books. But when I, went through my mom's house and we sort of got rid of stuff, I kept a Time Life history of World War II. That's pretty cool. What I should have kept, I was going to keep, but I was like, I can't keep more stuff. There was a wonderful 2-book anthology this big of the history of World War II written by Winston Churchill. And I say written, my suspicion is he edited it or something, but it was an interesting history. Like part 1 was Europe, part 2 might've been Pacific, but it was pretty cool. But I was like, I just can't, I can't have more books. It was too much. But anyway, but I'm still like, in retrospect, I'm curious to read it, but I was like, it's too many books. But it's just too much. Also because I know over the years, like books, I've got a lot of books. They're in my drawer or they're in my closet in boxes. You know what I mean? Like at some point, Jon Stewart, an American comedian, had made a joke about that, about all the boxes of books that are very important to him. And every time he moves, he makes sure to very carefully move the boxes of books from one closet to the closet in the new home and then to the closet in the new home. Guys, if this guy's being a troll, just get rid of him on TikTok. I don't know. Is anybody on TikTok? I don't know. Sometimes Ashley had to run out today, I think. I mean, I can do it. Manda, is somebody there? Oh, you're there, Amanda. Yeah, I was going to say, just if the person's being a troll, just get rid of them. I don't know if they were. Blue is there too. Okay. Oh, you guys are all there. Okay. All right. Only because I saw people complaining. I saw Mustard complaining too. I wasn't sure what the person was talking about. So, okay. Just checking. Capital, as in Das Kapital, or what do you mean, Xander? I've not, if that's what you mean. Yeah, you know what? Guess who wasn't, Dave? I mean, Dave says, as a Brit, Winston Churchill was a racist. There's controversy about him. I got news for you. A lot of the world was racist. No, I mean, I'm not very sympathetic to those kind of arguments because, yeah. And you know what, too? They all hated gays and women, too. I say this as a gay man. A lot of famous people in history didn't like gay people. No, I mean, and that's wrong and it's bad. I'm not going to rewrite history because of it. I'm not going to take down their statues because of it. And I think, unfortunately, some people, and I think the Churchill thing is probably a good example without having, I guarantee it's the same thing. They try to demonize people based on things in history that at the time, it wasn't so it was bad, but it wasn't out of step, It's always bad to be anti-gay, but I don't think it was very out of step 100 years ago. And the racism thing and the anti-woman thing, I mean, yeah, a lot of people were back then. I'm not going to approve of it, but I'm also not going to sit here and take down the statues and say we shouldn't honor Winston Churchill because he was regressive on a lot of civil rights issues. Yeah, again, who wasn't? And the other thing, by the way, is, I'm always kind of amazed by this because I've said this before, and I say I've done a lot of gay rights activism and other work, and I've always said, and again, civil war, sure, I don't think we should be honoring the people who tried to overthrow our country. It's like, it would be like having monuments to the insurrectionists of January 6th, right? We shouldn't be honoring the Civil War people who tried to overthrow our government, right? But if people on the left especially want to play this game of looking at historical figures and saying, oh, sorry, I'll stop moving the mic here. Let it sit. Is the mic being okay now on YouTube? YouTube is just being really pissy. Not you guys, but meaning YouTube itself is being really bad tonight. But if people on the left want to play this game of, we're going to look back in history and anybody who was bad on race or gender, we're going to kick them out. Okay. Because I'm happy to look at the history of your idols on the left and see how they were on gay rights. Very happy to go. And then let's talk about trans rights if we really want to get into it. But on gay rights, let's see if your heroes were good on my issues. And if they weren't, let's get rid of them too. And we'll take down their statues. We'll stop teaching about them. We'll stop naming parks after them and schools after them because your civil rights leaders or whoever weren't good on gay rights. So, that's the thing. I think it's a game. I think it's a game people play. 100 years ago, they weren't. You think a lot of people were pro-gay in the 1940s and 1950s in civil rights politics? I got news for you. I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah. Exactly. Some of them were misogynist too. That's very bad. The problem is, and this was something we actually learned. I forgot why we learned this in law school, but one of my, I think it was my contracts class. I don't know why, but I remember the professor telling us about like the public versus private persona of politicians. And he was talking about how politicians can do amazing things in public, but they can be bad human beings or at least flawed human beings in private. And this was a very long time ago, but it stuck with me because it reminded me of this debate. Just because you're a civil rights hero doesn't mean you're a perfect man. Doesn't mean you may not even have a perfect marriage. You may not even treat your spouse well. You may not be good on other civil rights issues, right? You may not care about every civil rights group. You may not even like some of them. It's not just that nobody's perfect, but I think everybody is flawed and we all have flaws that you can point to. Now, some are worse than others, yeah, but it frankly reminds me of the Bill Clinton thing. Bill Clinton was one of our best presidents ever. He had an amazing presidency, 8 years of economic growth and everything else was amazing, but he did some bad things on gay rights. He also did amazing things on gay rights, amazing historic things on gay rights, but he did some bad things too. He had the Monica thing, which was a crazy scandal, right? And he shouldn't have. It was disgusting. But at the same time, people are now trying to say he wasn't a great president because of the Monica stuff. No, he was a very flawed president because of the Monica stuff, but it doesn't take away from the fact that he had an 8-year historic presidency that was pretty amazing. But again, some complications there, right? It's tough. I mean, but NAFTA too. NAFTA at the time was considered a good thing. No, he did an amazing thing. And again, with the economy, amazing. He took the government that was in deficit. He left with a surplus. The U.S. government budget had a $400 billion surplus when Bill Clinton left. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Peg, you've said it twice. I'm still not going to answer you, but you're starting to annoy me. Just be aware. Keep it up. My point should be obvious. All right, Wings. Thank you for the wings. Who's the wing people? Thank you, Adventures. Anyway. So what else we got? Well, we went from Bill Clinton getting rightly destroyed over, although the Monica thing, I'm very divided on the Monica thing too. My problem with the Monica thing is Bill Clinton should not have cheated on his wife and he shouldn't have done it in the White House. That's disgusting to me. Monica Lewinsky knew exactly what she was doing and Monica Lewinsky got exactly what she wanted, right? She got exactly what she wanted. But Bill Clinton cheated on his wife, which was wrong. what he did to Hillary was wrong, and she had to deal with the public nature of it, which was horrible, right? That's the thing that I think was particularly bad about it. And him doing it in the Oval Office bothered me because I think that's disrespectful to the American people. You know, that's very bad. Well, I always said too that what was his phrase? Ken Starr, who was the special prosecutor. The Republicans were trying to destroy Bill Clinton from the beginning, but I always said, at the time, I said, Bill Clinton. The Republicans launched a witch hunt against Bill Clinton, and they caught a witch. That's what I said. They launched a witch hunt, but they caught a witch. And that was the thing. They were trying to destroy Bill Clinton nonstop, and then they actually caught him on something. And the other thing too, which actually the other thing I didn't mention, the other thing that was very bad, Bill Clinton lied under oath, and he shouldn't have lied under oath. That was very Trumpy of him. Now, Bill Clinton should not have been asked under oath about the affair. That was inappropriate. This is the problem you get into. It was inappropriate. He should have, when he was asked under oath, he should have said, this interview's over, right? Donald Trump wouldn't let you ask him under oath if he slept with a woman. He'd be like, this interview's over. He shouldn't have lied under oath. That was bad. You know, because now we have felons as president, which is not a good thing. Okay. One moment. Dog wants water. She did pretty well tonight. 1 second. All right, you get in your water. All right. All right. Whoa, okay. Ooh. All right. Up. I have my belt loose. Oh, man. Man, oh, man, oh, man. What else? Yeah, YouTube is being staticky. God only knows. I mean, the only thing is the microphone. Like, I don't know whether the camera cable, moving that out of the way, maybe that's the problem. I don't know. I do have a lot of technology behind my computer, so that stuff, you know, I need a Faraday cage. Ooh, the camera keeps shaking. Stop shaking, camera. There we go. I do not want to run for politics, Ken. No, I would hate it. I would just hate it. I love politics, but I like helping politicians and stuff. The idea of having to be public and being your president or your congressman. It's like, ugh. I just can't even imagine, you know. Clinton was great for the peace process in Northern Ireland. Clinton was amazing. And we had a meeting with him. I had one of the top American political blogs in the 2000s. And thank you for the gift. Was that Janice? I think. Thank you, Janice, for the panda. And we got to meet with President Clinton back in like 2005, 2006. I don't remember when it was. Maybe 2008. I don't recall. No, 2006, I think. And we got to meet with President Clinton at the Clinton Foundation in New York, a group of us. It was amazing. 2 hours of sitting with this. And the funny part too is we go into the room and everyone, like, he's sitting there and everyone is like being polite and very long round, a square table, a rectangle table, like the old, you know, Henry VIII sitting at dinner kind of thing. And Clinton is at the long end of the table in the middle. And everyone's sitting around the table like this. And there's chairs next to Clinton. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. Why wouldn't you want to sit next to Bill Clinton? So I went and sat right next to him because I was like, screw this. Why would you, like, let me sit next to him? I don't even remember the 2 hours we talked. I just can't even, most of it I can't remember. He was so, I got to ask a ton of questions because I was right next to him. So damn smart. Oh my God, this guy was smart. I mean, he still is smart, but the knowledge and the depth of knowledge of facts and details, and also saying, well, you've got to understand, like, he just knows things. He doesn't just know things inside out. He understands things, right? So that, like I said, like you're discussing things and he goes, okay, but you've got to understand in the Middle East, you've got this, and historically, blah, blah, blah. He just knows this. I was blown away by how smart he was. He's a great talker. He's a great communicator. He's very charismatic. I said at the time, people got mad at me. I said at the time, because I was trying to figure out what I did not find him charismatic in some ways, because I was trying to figure out what it was that people found so charismatic about him. And when we met him in person, it was his eyes. And people thought I was like transfixed with his eyes. I was like, guys, I'm literally reporting on this. You sit down with him and he's got these piercing crystal blue eyes, but I mean, they're piercing light blue. And it was just like, it kind of took you back, or it took me aback or whatever. It was very interesting for me. But I was, and I wrote about it and people were making fun of me, but I still think it's true. I think we're talking about Bill Clinton, meeting Bill Clinton. I think his eyes might be the charisma thing So despite his voice as well, but when you meet him in person, you literally go, wow, those eyes are blue. For me, I had never heard anybody talk about it before, and I never had noticed them on camera, except in person. You go, shit. It's a thing. Wandering Chill. Thank you, Wandering Chill. Wandering Chill did a very generous question on YouTube or comment. Annoyed with young leftists saying they're going to buy directly from China sellers after viral Chinese videos on TikTok about American luxury products. Can someone remind them of the Uyghur people and other labor atrocities? Oh, interesting. What are they saying, Wandering? I mean, you don't have to buy another question, but they're saying they're going to buy directly from China sellers. I'm a little confused. What exactly is going on? So they're seeing videos on TikTok about American luxury products, and what are they saying though? I'm confused. Sorry. Yeah, tell me more about what they're actually doing. I mean, don't buy it. Just write me more text. In any case, we don't have to pay the tariffs. Oh, yes, we do. And I see what you mean. You mean with this thing, it's all over too. Well, maybe somebody on TikTok can tell me too. What are the videos about? You can buy a $2,000 purse for, what do they do? Oh, so they're all over TikTok. Buy direct, cut out the US middlemen. But I don't. Oh, I see. Okay, I see. They're saying, sure, you can buy a $2,000 purse from the Americans, but buy it from us and it's $200. And yeah, Trump added another $200 tariff, but that makes it $400. And you can buy it from us for $400, or you can buy it for $2,000 from the Americans. Is that what they're saying? Yeah. The only thing is, as Wandering Chill just said, the people making those products, some of them are in prison camps. Like, it's, yeah. You're buying from one of the worst regimes on the planet, but true. That's what you're saying. Basically, China showed that they make the majority of luxury brand stuff for America, which is true, but like, don't put China on a pedestal. Yeah, the Chinese are coming out showing how all the luxury brands are made in China. $1,300 Hermes purse cost in China, marked up to, oh, I see. It costs $1,300 in China, but it's marked up to $32,000 in the US. By the way, if you think you're buying an Hermes purse directly from the Chinese and it's real, and you're getting it for normally costs $30,000, but for you, $1,000 from China. If you think that purse is real, I got a bridge to sell you. Yeah. I would be very concerned that they're not real. Yeah. Like PCL just said too. I'd be in addition to the human rights problems, I'd be very concerned about that. Thank you, Nicholas, for the gift. They put tags saying made in Italy. Oh, that's funny, but it's made in China. Yeah, I'd be very worried about anything being first. I'd be very worried about it being real. I would be, yeah. Well, here's the other problem too. Hermes isn't going to let you do that. Hermes isn't going to. I mean, how is Hermes license its goods? If they're selling it in China directly, then it's not Hermes, right? They're literally selling you something fake or something they made that they copied from Hermes, right? I mean, they can't sell at Hermes. They just can't. There's no way. I don't think that's true. That's my other question is, Hermes doesn't want you to know what? Hermes doesn't want you to know that they sell the bags for $1,000 in Beijing and you can get them there. Yeah, I think exactly. Unlabeled. The whole thing sounds, I mean, I don't have any sympathy right now for my government at this point or my people on the China thing, to be honest. But I'm a little skeptical on the Hermes thing as well, though. Well, exactly. Right. If your friends are fooled, true. True. Yeah, I'll have to see. I didn't see it, but I'll have to see. I'll see. Right. Well, that's what Liz just said, but Gunther says, from my understanding, everyone knows they're not real, but no one cares, and it's destroying luxury goods. Well, you know what? Trump did this. I mean, I'm not, at this point, unfortunately, I think my country needs to feel a little pain to understand how bad Trump is. So I'm also kind of like, oh, well, big companies learned that Donald Trump screwed them over with China. Oh, well, I'm not going to worry too much about it. Again, China, bad place. Keep that in mind. But you know, better living conditions in China. Yeah, sure. Um, I know. I also, yeah, exactly. I'm also not having a lot of sympathy for anybody buying a $32,000 purse, but whatever, you know. Oh, oh, is that what it is? Or Mace plays games with the. I vaguely remember that. D. Drake is saying, or Mace plays games with the quantity, and that's how they keep the prices up too. I vaguely remember that, like having to order the purse in advance and some crazy stuff or whatever. And like people were talking about, oh, I know what it was. I read some story about women going to the store, and the store kind of picks if they're gonna sell it to you. Like they have a limited number, and you have to kind of isn't our Mace the one you have to work your way up by buying less expensive purchase, and you got to buy more and more expensive purses before they'll sell you the really expensive purse. Oh my God, I read this a year or two ago. Yes, it was a crazy story. It was a crazy story. Women have to go and buy really expensive purses before they're able to buy the more Birkin bag. Was that the one? There was this bag everybody wanted, but Hermes refused to sell it to you unless you had a history of buying very expensive, increasingly expensive bags from them, and then they would sell you the very expensive bag. It's like a freaking Ponzi scheme. And Birkin, and as I recall, the bag was really ugly too. I remember looking at the bag going, "Oh my God, that's hideous." But yeah, that's amazing. Oh my God, absolutely amazing. Walmart sort of knockoff called a Workin. That's funny. Birkin sounds like Burka. It's a little weird. Oh my God. Yeah, let me pull this up. Birkin. I remember it being just ugly, ugly, ugly. Oh shoot, my battery's still good. Hold on. Birkin. Let me see here. Birkin, 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 Birkin bag. I mean, you know, this is not a pretty bag. I just feel like this is, like, okay. I mean, okay. Also pink. Give me a break. But like, what's so special about this? You know what I mean? It's a bag. I'm just not convinced it's a particularly pretty bag either when it comes down to it. The red crocodile, a little better. Okay, the red crocodile starts to make me a little happier. I know I'm not going to give opinions on crocodiles, but but actually the bag isn't anything special. The crocodile is nice. Yeah, I just feel like this is, you know what? It's a guy's briefcase. That's exactly. Look at this. This is a man's briefcase. It's a girly briefcase, but that's all it is. It's an ugly guy's briefcase, or a guy who might not be ugly, but his briefcase is. Right? That's funny. That's funny. Hey, Jordan. I know. Well, we get into our other. Once we get to the end of the show, we sort of talk about anything and everything. So, yeah, that's funny. That's funny. I mean, you can come around as well. I used to think the Daruta stuff, I used to think was very ugly. And I've come around on it, and now I find Daruta very pretty, which is funny because I really thought it was ugly at first, which is a specific kind of ceramic from Italy. But I find it very pretty now. But it is funny. I did sort of think it was ugly at one point. Where's my Daruta? Where's my? Oh, it's over here. That's right. I was going to say I used a Daruta pot for. This was pretty cool actually. Got this. This is my Daruta pot. What's nice about this one is this one was at a French antique store in the middle of nowhere in Normandy, covered in dirt. And I'm looking at it going, it's Daruta. And the bottom is it's Daruta. But it's very pretty. It was $25. I don't know. And I was like, you know what? And my friends convinced me. I was kind of like, oh God, I was like, am I really going to put this in my bag and take it home? And my friends were like, it's $25. I said, all right. And I washed it, and it's great. It's a beautiful bag. It's a beautiful pot. But it's funny because I used to sort of feel like I said, Daruta, I never liked it before. And then it grew on me, and I like the design now. But that was a thrifting win. Yeah. Like literally middle of nowhere Normandy antique shop. And I was going, this looks like Daruta. And then the bottom was Daruta. It was covered in dirt. And it was like, okay. And there's no chips. There's nothing. It's beautiful. I mean, I don't know if it's $75, $100. It may not be super expensive, but it's still very nice. It could be $100 or more. It's a very nice pot though. Yeah. But it's a great story. Exactly. It's like my French sweater that I got at the gas station. It's got a great everyman story to it. Exactly. Um, you know, I have fun stories. I know. I've been around. I've been around. I need to have more stories. An origin story. I know. Well, and again, I was told that I read this and I never knew it, but it probably is true. I don't know if it's Americans, but certainly Midwesterners where I'm from, like around the Chicago area. Supposedly, and I do find I do this, supposedly Midwesterners like to tell you about how they saved money. And apparently, like, and I was reading about this and it's true. When people compliment you on a piece of clothing or something, our instinct is to tell you how cheap it was rather than have you think it was expensive. Right. And you'll literally be like, oh, this thing, it literally cost me $15. And then you tell the story. And I don't know what it is. I don't know whether there's a brag in there or whether it's the opposite. You don't want people to think you're fancy. So you don't want them to think, oh, I'm wearing an expensive sweater or whatever. So you kind of want to say, I don't know. I'm not sure which way it cuts though. Like, I don't know whether it's trying to say, look at the bargain I got, or if you're also trying to say it's not expensive, I don't know. It's funny. I mean, I'd be embarrassed. I like nice things, but I don't. Well, like people ask me about my dog. I get asked occasionally about my dog and how much she cost. It's very weird. When I'm walking her, people will occasionally ask that, like, "Oh, what did you pay for her?" And I'm like, "Huh?" Like, I mean, because I get taken aback. I'm like, not that much. I'm like, because it's weird, you know. Um, yeah, asking me how much I paid for my dog. I'm kind of afraid they're going to kidnap her or something. Like, what are you trying to figure out how much she's worth or something? Like, and I always say she's 15. She's not worth anything because I'm just kind of like, I mean, it's weird. It's weird. People do all the time, not all the time, but a couple times a year. They say, "Oh, how much was she?" Like, and I almost need to say that, like, we don't really ask those questions here, just so you know. I mean, of course they do because they did, but yeah, I just avoid the questions and I say, "Oh, not much. They're expensive now, but she's old." I know $1 million. Yeah, but I'm literally afraid someone's going to take, like they're saying, give her to me. You know what I mean? The best deep dish in Chicago is a tough question, Ryan. I was talking to Callum about this the other day. Really depends who you talk to. I like Chicago deep dish. It's tough. Because all of it is very good. I wouldn't want to eat it all the time, though. Like, I like Chicago pizza, I can eat all the time. Deep dish, less so. But, Giordano's is very good. Lou Malnati's is very good. Exactly. Beth just said. Gino's and Pizzeria Uno and Due's are very good. They're different, but they're very good. There was a good one called Nancy's in Elmhurst, where I'm from. That was good. My favorite was Garcia's in Champaign, and it's in Indiana, but also in Champaign, Illinois. At what University of Indiana? What's the? I forget the city. But they have Garcia's, and Garcia's has a wonderful deep dish. Oh my God. Amazing deep dish. Garcia's was always my favorite, but I don't know if I've got a favorite. They're all very good. Yep. Champaign Urbana. Yep. It was very good, but I don't know. Bloomington, is that the university? Is that where it is, Max? Indiana University. But yeah, they have Garcia's, I guess, or they did there in Champaign, and I always wanted that recipe. Oh, my dog, she's a Yorkie Bichon. So Yorkshire Terrier mixed with a Bichon Frise. So you're 40 minutes from Champaign. You used to have Garcia's. Yeah. Are they still there though? I wasn't sure if they're still around anymore. Their slices were good. The deep dish, oh my God. 2.5 pounder or a 3.5. They weighed it and you bought it by the pound. 2.5 pound pizza or a 3.5 pound pizza. Oh, I mean, oh my God. It's like 1 kilo or a kilo and 3/4, basically. Oh man. So good. They all closed. Oh no. Well, I Googled online and no one has recreated the recipe. They've created good recipes. People have found good recipes for like Geno's and Giordano's. I made the Geno's recipe, I think. It was good. It was very authentic. I was shocked because the crust, especially, it was very authentic. The sauce, the crust. Giordano's, I didn't try. I'll probably try. But I would love to try Garcia's. Oh my God. And they clearly put a lot of butter in Garcia's too, because it was the cheese, but like butter running through it. Oh my God. Also, Garcia's had a very unique, Giordano's, there's an R before the D. German, you're close. Gior. The Garcia's also had a unique sauce that I went back and forth on. Sometimes I didn't like their sauce, like on the thin crust, but it was a unique tomato sauce. Yeah. Chicago pizza is very good. Again, typically we eat thin crust. People think we eat thick crust or stuffed. Typically we eat thin crust pizza in Chicago, but we do like our deep dish sometimes. But we don't, I don't know. We would not get it much though. We rarely ate deep dish ever. If we went to a restaurant, maybe like Giordano's. I'm from Chicago. Yep. But we never ordered deep dish ever. I made us order it once because we never order it. I don't know whether any Chicagoans regularly get deep dish. Again, there's this stereotype of us, but it's not really true. See you, Alyssa. Good night. Yeah, we always, exactly, Angela. It was always thin crust, you know. I will say the best damn pizza restaurant, my hometown. See, now I can talk about my hometown. I didn't before because mom was there and I was a little creeped out, people bothering her. She's gone. Not going to bother mom anymore. But I'm from Elmhurst, this town in the western suburbs of Chicago. And we've got a pizza restaurant, Roberto's. Oh my God. First of all, a town of 40,000 people, we must have 5, 6, 7 good pizza restaurants in town. A town of 40,000 people. And I'm talking 5, 6, or 7 really good pizza restaurants. Chicago is amazing for food overall and for pizza. And you literally get all of these little towns, and each one has got a number of excellent pizza, and they're all individual. Like they're not a chain. They're just individual great restaurants. Thin crust in squares in Chicago. Yep, Brian, we do. Yep, we cut squares. Yep. You're from Hinsdale. There you go. Yeah. I mean, Roberto's in Elmhurst is to die for, but I'm sure you guys also probably have 4 or 5 that you love in Hinsdale. That's one of the neat things. Elgin, I don't know. Elgin's kind of far out there. I don't know what's out by Elgin. Yep, Chicago hot dogs. Anyway, Cheesecake Factory. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Cheesecake Factory in Chicago. That's funny. I know we're all talking about pizza now. It's like pizza. Homer Simpson pizza. Pizza. Oh man. Portillo's was good. They got sold. Less good now. I still like their burgers, but it can be a pain in the ass. Their quality has sunk. I still like their burgers a lot. Like Portillo's has a really nice charbroiled burger that's good, but and the ones that they've licensed around the country are terrible. Yeah, Elmhurst does have a lot of good places. Chicago in general has a lot of good places, you know. Peach Cobbler Factory. What is that? The Peach Cobbler Factory? Is that an actual, are you being funny or is that an actual, you're being funny though, Gunther? Are you meaning you're making peach cobbler or what? Anyway, very true about Times Square. Gunther's talking about New Yorkers not going to Times Square. Very true. Parisians don't go to the Eiffel Tower. No, but you know, we might go nearby for the fireworks occasionally. That's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, oh, they're one of your clients. That's an actual company. I didn't know that. Okay, interesting. I'd never heard of them. I know places back home because I'm from there. But you know, the cakes from Portillo's, the lemon and chocolate. I would get their cake shake. The cake shake's okay. I didn't like the cake shakes entirely because they use the Hershey syrup. I find Hershey syrup to be a bit distasteful, you know. But I would get a cake shake anyway from Portillo's. It was kind of a sugar injection, but it was still good. Peach Cobbler Factory. I'm not from. That sounds cute. Peach Cobbler is very good. Thank you for the gift there, Brigitte. Parisians chill by the tower, not visit it. True though, because we went once to kind of check out. They had changed some of the stuff on the tower, and we kind of drove by and drove near to go check it out. I mean, it was me dragging a Parisian friend, but But also, there's no reason to go to the Eiffel Tower. I mean, what are you going to do? It's sort of, I mean, I don't go to the Washington Monument either. Like, I've been there. You know what I mean? So there's kind of that aspect too, you know? Now, that is true about Times Square. When, as a New Yorker, like I lived in New York for 2 years, as a New Yorker, you avoid Times Square like the plague. You know, once I remember accidentally cutting through Times Square and I was like, no, you know, all the superheroes are accosting you and stuff. Thank you, Cinderella. Thank you, Brigitte. Elizabeth as well for the gifts. User 884 as well. Thank you for the gold medal. But it was very funny. Very funny. Never went to Graceland. Although, I mean, I think you should go once, right? Like, you know, I've been to the places one should go in Chicago. Yeah, Navy Pier, we'd go as kids. Now I wouldn't want to go to Navy Pier, correct. But as kids, we always had Taste of Chicago that was there, or Chicago Fest, or whatever it was called. And I remember going and seeing, what's his face? Don, what's his name? Oh, I love that one. Thank you, Janice for the Dragon. What's his name? Don, is it Don, American Pie guy? We went and he sung American Pie at Navy Pier, which was kind of cool. Don McLean, maybe? Was that his name? Forgetting his name, the American singer. That was kind of cool. McLean, yep. We had to wait all night, of course, you know, for him to come. But that was kind of neat. But that was, I think, a little before Navy Pier was built up as much, you know. Alcatraz, that's funny. Can the International Court send ambassadors to El Salvador to check on Garcia? They can try. I don't know whether the International Court even does that. But Edinburgh Castle, yeah, I didn't do enough stuff when I was in Edinburgh. Like, I saw the castle, but I didn't really visit it. But, you know, thank you, Beth, for your gift. Getting an Uber at Navy Pier, I can only imagine. Canadian involvement in USA deportations, ruh-roh. Ooh, that's interesting. Boston, I like Boston. Yeah, I've been to Boston several times. I like Boston a lot. I found it like a walkable city, which was nice. Very pretty, very nice. Just reported. Okay. Oh, Rachel. I'm thinking, who's Rachel? You mean Rachel Maddow, of course. Oh, interesting. Wow, that's interesting. But I like Boston a lot. Boston area university. I don't know. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, I know of them, right? Was it BU, Harvard, and what's Northeastern? Is there a third one or fourth one? I'm sure there are more that I haven't heard of. Those are the only three I've heard of there. Undergrad, I went to University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, law school and graduate school. Oh, MIT's in Boston? That's funny. I always forget that. Tufts is in Boston? I don't remember that. That's funny. Okay. MIT as well. That is fun. I don't think of that. Boston College. Oh, that's right. BU and BC, right? Boston College and Boston University. I knew that. Columbia. Forgot what I was saying. You overwhelmed me with the colleges I was forgetting about. Yeah, I forgot. I totally forgot MIT was there. That's funny. A lot of schools. Oh yeah, schools. Yes. And then I went to Georgetown for my master's in a law degree, master's in foreign service, and then a law degree as well. JD. Harvard is technically in Cambridge. I don't think there's a university called Cambridge in Harvard in Boston. That's in the UK. Cities you like to visit? It's hard to say. I mean, I like traveling in general. I mean, my favorite cities, Paris and Rome. As far as that goes. If we're talking favorite cities, it would be those two. But I like traveling in general, you know. In the US, I mean, I love Chicago. I love New York. I mean, I spend a lot of time from Chicago. I lived in New York for 2 years. Beyond that, I like a lot of cities, though. I don't know. It's hard to say. City or nature? It depends. I'm not good at those questions. It depends. I like nature, but I like cities. I do not want nature to be hard. So like, I've never understood the idea of let's go hiking and break a real sweat. No, I'm going hiking to go for a walk and see pretty things and experience nature. I'm not going to be sweaty and messy and be going, oh my God, this hurts. That's not why I'm in nature. Right. So yeah, I like nature, but I like to go and see the mountains and the Grand Canyon. And I love all that stuff. My visit to Greece. That was, how do you remember my visit to Greece? Was I blogging about it? That was like 2008, probably 7. I don't know if I was there after that. I probably did blog about it though. Yeah, I'm sure. I did not practice. No. I studied law and then I went straight into politics. Innsbruck is supposed to be beautiful. I've not been. So no, but I like nature in terms of sights and things like that. Like I like to see the mountains and the hills and the valleys and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So I do like that, but I also love cities and like I like archaeology. So that's why Italy for me. Greece too, but Italy, oh my God, is nonstop archaeology. You know what I mean? Just beautiful. You know? UPS, my brother-in-law's got them. My packages are safe. I just have to get him to do the measurements. So just kind of, I'm going to bother him again tomorrow, his day off, to do the measurements for me so I can figure out the prices. I have not visited Egypt. Would love to go to Egypt. It's on the list. Have never gone. London was nice. You know, London was weird though. I told you when I went to London, I couldn't find anybody British. I was trying to get directions and I couldn't actually, I had a hard time finding people who spoke English, but I really couldn't find anybody who was English. Yeah. Italy was fabulous. Yeah. But I couldn't find anybody who was English. Like nobody, literally, I was just trying to find a restaurant 2 blocks away and they were like, just come off the tube and ask directions. Everybody knows. And I went up, finally, I started going to people on the street going, excuse me, are you English? Because back then you'd say English. And people were like, no. And finally one guy was like, yeah. And I said, you have no idea. I can't find anybody who's from here. Literally nobody can give me directions. And he said, I can give you directions. So he helped me out. It was very funny though. But literally like couldn't find anybody on the street who wasn't visiting. Everybody was visiting. And this was back in 2007. So God only knows now, you know? Anyway. I've been to Russia. I'm never going back to Russia probably, but I've been to Russia twice, which was fascinating. London people not friendly. I mean, I liked London. The Londoners I met were very nice though back then. You know, but I liked London. I found it to be a very impressive town. Russia, I went to Moscow, Leningrad at the time it was called. I went to Moscow and Leningrad when it was the Soviet Union. And then went to Petropavlovsk in 1993 after the Soviet Union died. And I went to Petropavlovsk, which was very interesting as well. So, yeah. Korea, never been. Nope. We're not going to go through every country. We've done this before. We're not going to do every country. I will say Canada, yes, but I've only been, like, we would go fishing in Canada a lot when we were kids we'd go camping. So a couple times fishing in Canada on the boundary waters. We'd go camp for a week. I've been to, what's it called? I always forget. Is it Ontario? I'm forgetting your capital. Is it Ontario? I'm forgetting the capital, which was impressive. And that may be it though. Ottawa. Thank you. Ontario is the state. Ottawa. I knew it was an O. I'm being stupid. I'm having a brain fart today. Sorry. Ottawa, but I've never been to anywhere else. I've never been to Canada otherwise. Like, again, I've gone fishing a lot. But yeah, Ottawa's the province, the state. I know. I'm being tired tonight, guys. Sorry. But I liked Ottawa a lot, actually. I was expecting, you know, I haven't been anywhere else. No. But I liked Ottawa a lot. I thought it was really interesting. It was pretty. It was interesting. I liked the people. I told you there was a history. It was right before Canada Day or whatever you call it, early July. And they were testing a sound and laser light show that they were going to do on the Parliament building. And they were testing it. So it was like free. We could all go or whatever. And it was the history of Canada. And it was funny because, there were parts of the history that I was like, wait a minute. Like they talked about the war against the Americans and I was like, what war against the Americans? I mean, these are things literally I'm sure, I guess the War of 1812, you guys were on the other side, I guess. I mean, literally, these are things we do not learn about. 1812, I think, was the Brits, as I recall. We don't mention Canada. And the Canadians mentioned the war with America. And I was like, the war with America? Like maybe now, but that one made me laugh. And then They beat us. Well, I was going to say, I thought they said they beat us too. And I was like, what war? The other one was that they were bragging about, we talked about this before. They were bragging about maybe Alexander Graham Bell being Canadian. And I remember looking at this on the wall going, he was American. He wasn't Canadian. And then I Googled it. I think it was Alexander Graham Bell because I Googled it and we saw that he actually lived in multiple countries. He was like in the UK, he was in America, he was in Canada, but then he finally settled down in America and I think considered America home. But it was, I think it was Alexander Graham Bell, but it was very funny because they claim him and I was like, wait a minute. What are you doing? So it was fun, but especially the war with America. And you're like, what war with America? It was very funny. So, but no, I liked Ottawa a lot. I liked it a lot, you know, and I was in the airport in Montreal, which made me laugh because I was coming out of the plane. I remember, and there was this like blue collar airport worker who was greeting us, he was sitting there kind of greeting everybody coming off the plane. And he greeted me, but he did it in some kind of Quebecois way that was hilarious. I just remember the accent mixed with what he said was adorably hilarious. And I'm sorry, I say this as somebody who learned French in Paris, so you know, but it was really cute and made me laugh. And I gave him the big bonjour, but it made me just freaking laugh how cute it was. Well, again, I've studied in Paris and I've been there a lot, so my French is Parisian and I already have the bias. So I hear Canadian French and it's really cute. And I know that's condescending, sorry, but you know, what do you want me to tell you? You know, it was very funny. Anyway, Talladega Nights. It sounds familiar, but I don't know it. What is that? It sounds vaguely familiar. Oh yeah, no, I know the Quebecois, of course, but it was like I said, whatever he said welcoming us was just really cute. He had whether the expression because he had like a sentence. He didn't just say, I said bonjour monsieur. I said bonjour, but however the hell he said it was just very funny. It was anyway, it cracked me up. But as we said, I've got to go to Canada and go to Montreal and Quebec City and experience French there if they'll let me speak French. Actually, if I go to Montreal, am I going to be able to speak French without a problem, or are people going to switch into English with me? Assuming my French is very good, which it is. But I don't know, like, is that something? I thought I'd heard people say it was hard using French in Montreal, or not at all if you speak French. I mean, I know they speak French, but literally I remember somebody saying, oh yeah, they won't speak French to you. You know? I know there's a lot of English, but so in stores and everywhere else, if I speak French and they're Francophone, they'll speak French. Okay. Oh, Astrophysics said they'll probably switch to English, but keep speaking French anyway. Exactly. It was on est à Montréal. C'est la loi. Il faut parler français. No, but I know they speak French. But as I said, I had read that people who were not Francophones who spoke French were trying to speak French and they wouldn't speak French with them. I just remembered hearing that. They'll respond in French. Okay, that's good. Okay. Wait. They think Parisian French is obscene. I mean, you know, it is what it is. But now, okay, but now here's a question for Canada. Is a properly educated Quebecois, do they still speak more of a Quebecois? Or in business and government and stuff, would they speak a more pure French or not? Or would they still speak like you know, the prime minister? Like I would hear him speak, and to me, he's speaking French. I don't hear Quebecois like Justin Trudeau would speak French, and I understood everything, and it sounded French to me. You know what I mean? But I don't know whether, I don't know. Quebecois. Okay. It's just like I said with Trudeau, I never noticed. I'd have to look at his tweets and stuff too, but I never noticed it. That was my question. It's not a low class. I wouldn't even say low class. I was wondering whether it was a common accent, whereas in elite circles, suddenly they speak French. That was my question. Like at university, a professor, would he speak French, or in government with the prime minister? That was my question. Yeah. Okay. Although I'm sure Quebecois is going to have, like every language, you're going to have a more common tongue and a more refined tongue, of course, but that's common in any language. Every language is going to be like that. Yeah. His dad was French and his mom is English. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, he's obviously amazing in both, but as I said, whenever I heard him speak French, it was so clear that I was always a little suspicious as to whether I was understanding him a little too well. You know what I mean? Like he was trying to be clearer or something. I don't know. He studied French in Montreal classes. Our books were Quebecois. Oh, that's funny. That is funny. He grew up in Montreal. Interesting. Okay. Oh, I know his dad was prime minister. I remember his dad was prime minister, Pierre. Yep. That was the 1970s, I want to recall, under Ronald. I can still remember might have been Mulrooney was 1970s too, though, wasn't it? Oh, I know you don't speak with a Parish accent, Margot. That I know. Well, I laugh, though, because I will listen to some of the TikTok Quebecois, and it can be really difficult. And again, my French is excellent. In Parisian French, I do fine. But listening to you guys, the TikToks, a lot of times I'm like, oh God, it's especially people are going fast. It's like, holy shit. Mulrooney was the 80s. Oh, okay. Oh, because he was Reagan. That's right. Mulrooney was the 80s. Trudeau. I thought Trudeau was late 70s. Would be my recollection. Yeah. Claro que hablo español. Sí. Sí, señor. O sí, señorita. Depende de lo que eres. But Mulrooney was there with Reagan. I remember that at some point. But I remember Trudeau being the late 1970s because I was in high school. And I just remember, like, it was a question that came up in our high school, whatever class. We've done this before, Ode. I don't know if I know 5 languages. I've studied more. I know 5, but English fluent, French and Spanish fluent, Italian very good, Greek used to be fluent, now okay. But I wouldn't want to get into a big discussion in Greece. It would be hard. But I can get along fine and everything else in Greece. But it's just having a political discussion or just a deep discussion would be difficult in Greek. But I love languages. I mean, my claim to fame, this will be my bragging rights. Because I liked studying, my senior year of college, I took Greek, Spanish, French, and Italian at the same time. And that's my one big bragging right, I will say. And it was okay. And I was shocked. Я немного говорю по-русски. That's exactly what I say. Exactly. And some Russian. Exactly. Well, I usually say я говорю немного по-русски, but I think that's wrong. I think it is немного comes first. But I loved studying languages, and you actually can study them together. It's not a bad thing. Like, I was surprised. It wasn't hard studying all of them at once. Yeah, which was weird. I mean, you do mix up the languages, though. You do. If your best foreign language is always going to interfere with the other ones. So Spanish and French is my best. Spanish is very good. And Italian is going to get interfered with by Spanish and French. Yes. And then Greek. I think Greek doesn't entirely get interfered with because every word is different. So that Greek is its own little lockbox for me. Because it's just so unique that I don't come up with a Spanish or French word. Whereas in Italian, I absolutely can come up with a Spanish or French word and think I'm speaking Italian. Or the construction too. Like, I had to learn in Italian to say molti anni fa, because I would always say fa molti anni. And they were like, no, ça fait beaucoup d'années. I'm trying to think, would you say ça fait beaucoup d'années in French? I think. Because I started saying it in Italian, they were like, no, molti anni fa. Not fa molti anni. And so, like, you start picking up also sentence constructions from the language you know better, you apply to the other language, Oh, that's hard, Dave. I mean, when you're speaking a foreign language, do you think in English or the language you're speaking? Forget the lower languages, English, of course, like even Greek. I don't even know if you want to say thinking in English. Greek is not my first language. No, English is. I mean, At one point, my French was at its best. I had a retinal detachment in Paris and had to stay in Paris for 2.5 months. And my French was at its best ever. Well, probably was at its best ever when I was living there. But my French, I did like a TV interview, basically, for the French magazine interview on camera. It's still live online with Marianne, the publication. And that I watched that interview the other day and couldn't believe how fast I was speaking. I was clearly not thinking in English in that conversation because I was flying. But now I don't know if I'm thinking in English. It's weird though, because like I tried doing other TV interviews in French and it was very hard. I've done radio interviews in Morocco. I did a radio interview in French, but it can be a little different. I don't know. It's hard to explain speaking in a foreign language. I don't know if you think in your mother tongue, but it's still harder to speak their tongue because an idea comes in your head. In English, I'm so fluent in English that I don't think in English. English just comes out. Maybe it's like playing a piano. Right. English is more my muscle memory. It's not like I think in English. It just, right. So I don't have to think in English and say a sentence to you. English just comes out. I have thoughts and they come out in English. Whereas if I'm trying to speak in French, it wants to come out in English. I don't know that I'm translating it. I wonder sometimes if like, and French is my best foreign language, but I think sometimes if I'm speaking French, it's a lockbox that's smaller. I have fewer words in the box. And if I haven't spoken in a while, I have to sort of open the box again to find the words. And that's what makes it harder. I'll have a concept in my head of what I want to say. And I've got to think, how do I construct that in French? Maybe that's thinking in English. I'm not sure I would call it that necessarily. But it's the box has fewer words and the box is a little rusty so that I know what I want to in English. I could like right now, I can talk to you in English really fast and every concept can come out. In French, oui, je peux parler en français très vite et chaque concept va sortir de la bouche, peut-être, je sais pas. I guess I'm translating, but I'm also thinking of a concept and doing a sentence at a time, but it's a little harder. Yeah. I don't dream in foreign languages. I've had dreams where I've spoken foreign languages in my dreams, but it was relevant. I wasn't like speaking to an American in French. I might have been dreaming that I was in France or something. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, everything gets the other languages always get rustier too. They always do, But you do get, I would say, the more comfortable I get in French, even Italian. I mean, you do start to, because you start to pick up phrases. And I don't know. I've never, I love linguistics. I've just never studied linguistics. So I don't really know how people think in foreign languages and how we, like I said, like whether we think in English or we just think in concepts, and then translating to English is secondhand. Translating into French from a concept is much harder because it's just, English is I'm so hyper fluent in English, right? Anyway, I love languages. I find the whole thing fascinating. Body language is speaking Italian, of course. I know the thing is my French is almost embarrassing because I feel like my French doesn't come across as good as it is because I don't speak it anymore, but I love Spanish too. Spanish is fun. And I get to speak Spanish like with my dog because we have a lot of Latinos in the neighborhood. So every week I usually get to speak Spanish to some degree, but French, I've always loved French again, because I studied there. And I've spent so much time in Paris. I love the French language, but it's still hard. Even if I'm very fluent in French, it's still, I think better in English. Like if I'm having a deep conversation with you, I can't say everything I want to say in as nuanced a way in French as I can in English, It's I can translate it into French. Even now, if you gave me sentences to say, I could translate them probably. Si, senor. But your first language is French, but I find it faster to speak English or Japanese. Interesting. Faster. That's funny. French is too long. That's a different point. Yes. I was helping a friend from Syria in college at Illinois and Fadi. And I was helping Fadi with some of his English. He was studying English as a foreign language at Illinois and then went on to Purdue afterwards to study engineering. and I was helping him with his English assignment, and they had to write, a paragraph or something. And I was reading this paragraph, and I was like, Fadi, you're killing me. Because the paragraph, Fadi's first language was French and Arabic, but it really was French. He even had a French accent in English. He had went to a French school. His French was excellent. And Fadi's English was this long roundabout English that was driving me nuts. I had the same thing helping an Italian friend who's very fluent in English. He was studying in England, I think, and he had to write his, I don't know about a thesis, but it was some very long essay about Shakespeare or whatever, and he wanted me to read it. And I read this essay, and I was going to kill him. I was like, you're beating around, you're using too big of words. It sounds like you're trying to impress, and you're beating around the bush. Get to the fucking point. And that's something that American English certainly is. We get to the fucking point. And French does not. And Fadi and my Italian friend had the same problem. They were used to embellishing and bigger, longer sentences, and they wouldn't get to the fucking point. It was very strange. As an American, it's a weird, it's a weird, watching writers with French at their first language write in English is Proustian. But it's funny. I mean, just different, just different. Well, masculine and feminine, that's its own problem, of course. Yeah. We don't have to worry about that. It's hard in foreign languages. English teacher, first year of high school, because, but we are very concise. I mean, when we do it correctly in English. Now, I like writing to sing. I like writing to have a lyricism to it. I had written for The Economist. I was a stringer for The Economist. I wrote like 5 articles for them or something. And when I would write, but I wrote a political blog too. When I would write for them, or even my blog, I would write sort of some of the bigger essays for my blog. And I would try to write it with some poetry to it, really. That's the only way I could describe it, is having, I liked sentences to have a cadence to them, for example, like certain sentences that were really important. I wanted the sentence to be like, ba, ba, da, ba, 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 ba. And it literally had a poetic cadence. And I think good writing in English still can have poetry to it, but you still can be very precise. You can use good, beautiful words, but you can still even sometimes have a poetic, again, when I wrote for The Economist and others, I tried to almost have a poeticism. Cadence is da 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 da. It's the rhythm of a sentence. There's a famous line from a poem, and I can't remember if it's Yeats or who it is, but the line is a call in which he was born and still was wrapped. And it's a call in which he was born and still is wrapped. Da 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 da. That's the cadence. The sentence, it's a poem line, a call in which he was born and still is wrapped. I'm saying it normal, but it literally has a sing-songiness to it because of the beat and the stress of the words. It goes da 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 da. If you ever learned poetry, Shakespeare, iambic pentameter, or even better, think of limericks. That's the cadence of a poem. And the words, remember, there once was a man from Nantucket who got his head stuck in a bucket. That's the cadence of a limerick. And you don't have to sing it. You could just say, there once was a man from Nantucket who got his head stuck in a bucket. I'm saying that normal English, but there is a rhythm to the words, and I think good writing in English that is serious political writing or whatever can still have a rhythm to certain special sentences. I would always try to do it. I would come up with phrases or whatever, or even, honestly, even what I said earlier, I said some combination of words that you guys were laughing at the beginning. Remember, whatever, somebody on YouTube mentioned it. But I like to put strange combinations of words together too sometimes for concepts that I think are interesting in English. So there's a lot of fun, but English is such my best language that I can't even compare it to other languages. The Economist does. The Economist tries to write with a higher level of English, clearly. And I tried to emulate that when I wrote for them. I loved writing for them. I liked that kind of writing. It was because it was very thoughtful, but a prettier English a little bit, I would say. There was a young lady from Blight. All right, let's not start with the limerick. You're going to get me in trouble with the limericks here. Let's not do that. I know it is getting late. All right, guys, we've been doing this for 2 hours. We should probably go. All right. Um, exactly. No more limericks. Don't get me into trouble. Um, all right. Well, it's 8 o'clock. I'm gonna sign off after 2 hours. This was fun. It's always fun when we get into our other topics. So I don't know what Bahnhof is. Although I see Bahnhof and I was thinking of like Bader Meinhof, but that definitely somebody else. Um, I'm a child of the 80s. I remember these things. She is back in her little bed. She did have a little breakaway. I will show you. She had a little breakaway and then went back to her bed. She is in her little bed underneath, if you guys can see. I think you can see there. Hopefully it, I don't know whether the iPad, whether it was light enough that you could see her. Odessa's under attack. Yeah, surprise. Yeah. Whose speed was faster than light? Oh, don't do it. Don't do it, Bill. Don't get me in trouble. Don't do it. All right, guys. Well, this was fun. As I said, I always enjoy us when we get into our other topics. It's always kind of fun. So thank you for the gifts there, guys. Dave and Janice and others. I'm sure I missed Dawn. I missed some of the rest of you as well. So thank you all. All right. Exactly. Buenas noches, all. All right. Bahnhof is a train station? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Oh, Bahn, like the U-Bahn, right? U-Bahn? Isn't it U-Bahn? Is the U-Bahn the name of the train? I'm trying to remember. Was that what it was called? I never thought of Bahn as being train and Hof being a house. Interesting. Oh, the underground's the U-Bahn. Okay. Oh, see, I'd never studied German. Yeah, that's funny. Hof is house. I always thought house was house, like house. H-A-U-S was house. Hof is house as well. Oh, I'm sorry. Hof is station. Got you. Okay, not a house. It's a station. Hof. Okay, funny. Okay. Then what is Meinhof? My station? Or is it something else? Or is Meinhof the name of a town? City and suburban, right? Oh, U-Bahn is the city and S-Bahn is suburban. House is house, but Meinhof. Hof is a farm as well, but mine isn't mine as in mine, right? The town of Meinhof. Is it just a name? I think the town is Meinhof, isn't it? Again, the terrorist group is the name I remember. But anyway. Oh, hey, user 336. Thank you for the last minute gift. Appreciate that and good to see you. All right. Anyway, enough of this. Hofbrauhaus, of course. Yeah. Oh, because that's Hof too, right? And Hof is, in that case, it's farm. What's Brau? I know Hofbrauhaus is the famous drinking place. Hof has various meanings. So Hof has various meanings. And Brau is brew. Oh, it's a brew house. Oh, German is fascinating to me because of some of these connections with English that I'm not aware of. Like I said, like that Brauhaus, like Hofbrauhaus is brew house, which is funny because you're like, oh, that is interesting in English. Yeah, that makes sense. A brew house, a brewery. That's funny. Children's garden. Yeah, sure. German can sound like English. Yes. I'm always surprised when I hear words, because I don't know German. When I hear words in German, you're like, oh, that's funny. That's another word we use. But English has I've got to read through my history of English book again, but we've got a, strong infiltration of French, German, Latin, some Greek. Am I missing anything obvious in terms of, or maybe the Anglo-Saxon? I forget sort of what the base of English actually is. Or is it Anglo-Saxon? Like, what's the actual base language that then these guys, like, what's the majority? Have they ever done a breakdown of the percentage of English? Although it might be words, I guess, that we'd look at as far as what percent comes from what. Because then you get structure and everything else, right? German structure and all of that. Do we consider English Germanic? Because as I said, there's English is Anglo-Saxon, but we know we got a lot from Latin. We got a lot from French. And again, there's a lot from Greek, less so, but there's Greek. A lot of scientific stuff is Greek. German and Latin. Okay. And Anglo-Saxon also gets you down to Scandinavian, right? So we've got a lot of Scandinavian words that I did not realize until I was reading up on it, that a lot of the words we've got, I'm trying to think whether it was maybe the word fire. I'm trying to remember what the words were. There were certain words that I was watching TikTok videos and they were talking about, like, if we didn't have the Scandinavians gave us a lot of our more simple words that we like, though, that are very direct words that we wouldn't have if we didn't have the Scandinavian influence, which I'm assuming was the Danelaw and all that stuff in England, I'm assuming. Very interesting. Yeah, it's a fascinating language. Who settled where were the names of the old towns? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Anglo-Saxon, French, and Latin. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, that makes French. Or makes French. Makes sense. Germanic language, structural words with lots of French and other stuff, nouns and verbs. It's a smorgasbord, exactly. And we do say smorgasbord. Although, you know what? We don't say smorgasbord anymore as well, do we? Growing up, we'd use the word a lot. I've never heard anybody use smorgasbord in years. For, right, like buffet. Actually, now you probably would say buffet, wouldn't you? That's an interesting question. Wouldn't we say buffet now? I think we would. Growing up, we'd say a smorgasbord for like a layout of food with all sorts of different food on the counter and like a mishmash. Exactly. But now you'd say a buffet. Well, buffet is a little different, though. A buffet simply means the food is sitting out on a table. A smorgasbord is also the concept of a whole bunch of different stuff, right? Is how I think of smorgasbord. But it's Scandinavian, obviously. Yeah. That's funny. It's funny, little words like that. It's always funny when foreigners will come here and they'll hear us use it, like even kindergarten. The Germans are like, you say kindergarten. There's certain words we'll use that maybe it's also Midwest that I got it. You're right, that I'm being from Chicago. But there probably are certain words there are certain words we use that foreigners kind of go, wait, you use one of our words? And you're like, yeah, we just kind of, and sometimes we don't even know it's French or whatever, like a buffet. Americans never think of buffet as being a French word. They don't know, Oh, you say it in Rhode Island too? Yeah. All right. We're going late, guys. 2 hours and 15 minutes. I don't want to lose my voice here. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'll start with Discord again. The Discordians are gone anyway. They always leave first anyway. Oh, hang on. There we go. All right. Discord's not there anyway. Disconnect and end. All right. YouTube and TikTok. You want it next? All right. Good night, YouTube. Asgary? I don't know what that is. Asgary? I do not know what that is. Handy for mobile phone? Oh, in German, we adopted French and English words. Handy for a mobile phone. What the hell? Meaning you hold it in your hand? I'm not even, Gunther is going to weigh in on this one. I'm not even going to tell you. A handy sounds a little sexual, to be honest. I don't know about that. That's like my Italian. That was like, I told you guys this. I'll go after this. But my new Italian friend, really nice guy, like Alessandro, whatever his name was, on the bus to the airport in Florence this last time when I was there a couple months ago. And he got on the bus and sat next to me and started joking with me in Italian, which I thought was interesting because, they were a little more serious in where we were in a little near Florence. And we started talking. We had a great conversation, but two different times in the conversation, he was talking about the bonds between like Europe and America or whatever. And he mentioned the bondage. And the first time I let him get away with the bondage between Europe and America. But the second time he said it, I was like, okay. And his English was flawless, beautiful English. But the second time I told him, I said, okay, I have to correct your English because you've said something twice that's very funny, but people are going to laugh because it's so funny that you need to know. And he said, what did I say? And I said, you kept saying bondage instead of bond. And he says, what does bondage mean? And I was like, and I'm thinking, I just met the guy, like, right. He's a college student though. So a little better, and I'm thinking, how do I do this nicely? And I said, okay, bondage is when you have sex and you tie someone's hands. And he started laughing. He was like, oh God, that's hilarious. So I'm like laughing and telling you now. I'm sure he tells that story now of like talking to the American he just met about bondage. The bondage. Oh, I got to stop using these words. TikTok's going to get upset. All right, guys. Have a good night. I'm signing off before I get into trouble. All right, good night, YouTube. Oh, he cracked me up.